Hello everyone. Today we will see how we can create virtual machine using portal.azure.com console. I have logged into the portal.azure.com and I'll be creating the virtual machine from here. There are multiple ways how you can create a virtual machine, either by clicking on the virtual machine itself, or there is an option you can search in the search bar and enter the virtual machine, or you can click on the home and select the virtual machine from here. Let me select the virtual machine from here and start creating the virtual machine. Before creating the virtual machine, you need to understand there are some prerequisites. First thing is you need to have a resource group and you need to have a virtual network with a subnet created. If you don't have the resource group and virtual network created, you cannot create a virtual machine. Either you can create a resource group and virtual network beforehand, or in the process of creating the virtual machine, you can simply create resource group and virtual network with the subnet. Let me start creating the virtual machine. I will select the virtual machine and I will enter instance name. Because I don't have the resource group created, it has taken new resource group here. So I don't want this name to be given, and I will choose my specific name for the resource group, demo RG001. So once you have selected the resource group, and you will be able to create the virtual machine and enter the virtual machine name here. If you have not watched my other video which talks resource group extensively, and if you see that video, you will understand how a resources can be moved from one resource group to another resource group. The resource group which we are creating, demo RG001, is in location East US. Virtual machine name, I will create demo VM001. So I have given the name for the virtual machine and I have also select the region for the virtual machine. You can select whichever region you want. And I don't want availability zone or availability set or VMSS. So I will simply select no infrastructure redundancy required. And I will keep security type as default, and also I will select the Windows Server 2016 data center. If you wanted any other operating system, you can browse through the operating system and select the operating system whichever you want. Also, you can browse through all the images which are available in the Azure Marketplace and select one of them to install the OS. For the size of the virtual machine, I can select a particular size which is low cost for this demo machine. I will choose the lowest cost virtual machine, 320 maximum, and what is the price? 802 is the price. What will happen if you install the lowest configuration is you will not be able to log in very soon. I have two vCPUs, which is good, and also 4 GB RAM. If I select the B1S, it is having only one CPU and 1 GB RAM. Think about how much time it will take to log in. Okay, so I will select B2S, and once you have selected the size, for the username, I will give demo user account and password. I will enter some random password. For the port, I need to allow 3389 so that I'll be able to establish the RDP connection. Next, I'll choose the disks. By default, it will use 127 GB for the operating system, and for the data disk, you have multiple options to select. In this case, I will leave it to the default, or if you wanted to select the different disk type, you can always go and browse or click on the drop down button and select the disk type which you wanted to use. For the key management, I will leave it to the default. Let Azure manage the key. And next, if you notice, Azure is creating the virtual network automatically along with a subnet, and also it is providing an public IP address. The setting what we allowed for the inbound connection 3389, it is seen here. So click on next management. I will leave it to the default, and next monitoring. This also I will leave it default. We will discuss all this in the next chapters. Click on advanced. If you want to have custom data, you can provide the custom data here. Click on tags. If you wanted to use key value data, you can always enter some tags here to reference the virtual machine. I don't want to create any tags now, so review and create. So the virtual machine creation is in process, and you will see the validation has passed, and whatever the options which we have selected, if you have not remembered the user account, you can simply copy the user account. Now I will create. So the virtual machine deployment is in progress. You can see in the notification bar what is the status of the virtual machine. Click on Home and click on Resource Group. You will see the resource group which we created in the beginning of the virtual machine creation process. And there is a resource group which is already created, and you will see multiple resources which will come and fall into this particular resource group. If you see, there are multiple resources which are already part of this demo RG001 resource group. If you don't see all these resources, you can simply refresh or click on refresh here, and you will be able to see all the resources which are created as part of the virtual machine creation process. I wanted to access the virtual machine. To access, I will simply click on the virtual machine, and this is the virtual machine name which we have given. You need to go to the overview, and there will be a public IP address which will be assigned. If you see, there is also a private IP address. Using this private IP address, we will not be able to log into the virtual machine. I have to use this public IP address, and I will copy the public IP address, or I will enter the public IP address straight away. I have entered the public IP address 172.168.68.30 and click on connect, and I will say demo user account, which is the user account which we have created. So if you don't know this user account, what you have to do is you have to come to the reset password here, and you can select the reset password, and you will be able to see the user account which is created 172 dot my bad 172 dot 178 dot 68 dot 30. So this is the public IP address, and I will use the user ID and the password which I have created. Let me enter the user ID and password. I'll be able to log into the virtual machine. Let me log in. So the login process is happening in the background, and the profile is also getting created. Once you log into the Windows, then access the File Explorer, and you will be able to see this PC, and there are two drives which are created. By default, the operating system size will be 128 GB, and there will be a temporary disk which will be created. This is a temporary disk, and you should not store any data here. And if I wanted to see the size of the disk, I will simply go to Manage, then All Servers, Local Servers. I have to click the disk, and I'll be able to see the disk what the Windows has created. Now I can see the disk which is been created for the operating system. As I said, by default, the OS disk size will be 127 GB, and depending upon the virtual machine size, what you are selecting, there will be a temporary disk which will be created. It depends on the size of the virtual machine, what you are going to create. So let me cancel this and close this. I will search for, either you can search for command prompt cmd, and you can enter IP config. You will see there is a private IP address which is created 10.0.0.4. By default, all the virtual networks allow access to the internet. So you need to see to that there is a proper security in place. Whatever connection which are outgoing, you need to block in case of any security requirement. If I enter Google, I'll be able to browse to this site. I'll say close. Yes, I am able to connect to the internet. So this is how you will be able to create a virtual machine and connect to the virtual machine. I will shut down the virtual machine, which I don't require now. I will terminate the virtual machine from the console. So we are able to create a virtual machine and log into the virtual machine. Since there is a cost which is associated to the resources what we have created, I will delete all the resources. I can simply click and select all the resources and select delete here, or if I delete the resource group itself, I will select the resource group itself and copy the resource group name and delete it. I can simply click delete and delete the resource group. So whatever resources you have created in that resource group, all the resources will be deleted and you don't get bill generated for these resources. So whenever you create any resources, be sure that you delete all the resources in a test environment, not in production environment. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe and share the video. Thank you and take care.